Hey, welcome to Hidden Indie Gems, where we embark on a journey into the vibrant world of indie gaming. Join me as we delve into the creative minds behind current and future indie games, uncovering what sets each one apart and makes it truly extraordinary. Today I got to talk to Arin Eakins, sound designer and composer for the upcoming title Cosmic Horror Tales, a top-down action RPG about a farmer searching for his chicken on the edge of a town filled with horrors beyond human comprehension. Now, this podcast has no sponsors and is 100% audience funded. If you want to support my creative work, you can buy me a coffee using the link in the description. Every dollar makes a huge difference. Thank you, and enjoy the show. So can you tell me about the team that's working on the game?
Yeah, it's just this guy and me. That's it. Just two people. This guy, his name is Tom. I've worked with him before. He was doing a lot of pixel art, and he actually participated with Hyperviolet Games on a game jam one time. So this kind of started out as like, oh, hey, I'm going to like help you out for helping me out a long time ago. Because I remember a few years ago, he told me, he was like, yeah, I'm going to get good enough to like start making my own game one day. And he is. And so, yeah, it's just, he's doing all the programming and the art and the game design. He basically just came to me with this almost complete demo and was just like, hey, like I've got everything here other than music and sound effects and you can help me out. And I was like, yeah, 100% can help you out.
Cosmic Horror Tales. What's it about? What kind of game is it?
It is a top-down pixel art game. It's a horror survival game. It is, well, actually, I don't know if I'm going to call it a horror survival game. It's a horror game, but it has a lot of RPG elements involved too. You get a very simple flashlight mechanic, and you play a farmer that just recently relocated to this farm to take care of these animals. And you notice all these weird things happening, like animals go missing and your prized chicken Petunia goes missing. So you are on the hunt for your chicken Petunia. And as you are investigating and you're doing these puzzles, like all these light-based puzzles, you find these clues that Petunia left behind, like little chicken tracks, and you're like, oh, where did these chicken tracks go? And then there's like these disgusting like aliens on the farm, and people don't really know how they got there. They're just there. So there's this weird feeling of like horror mixed with like mystery investigation, as well as like this really absurd humor. That's pretty much what kind of game it is. Like there's not really like any like hack and slash combat, like there's no like gun shooting or anything, like very puzzle heavy, and like you'll see like this weird alien with like this disgusting oozing eyeball, and it doesn't like light, so you have to like turn your flashlight on at like just the right time to damage it. And then you also have like this weird cult activity you're unveiling, like this town is like has this cult that worships these aliens, so like it gets really creepy really fast. Like it shifts from like, oh, this was funny and cute to like, okay, now this is like really weird and scary.
Tom came to you with this basically completed demo, and he's like, hey, I need help with audio, with sound. Do you know much about like how he came up with the idea?
No, I don't. I don't know much about how I actually came up with this idea. What I can say is like it has grown since then. It's kind of turned into like this multi-chapter thing now. Like, chapter 1 ended and now he's working on chapter 2.
So have you gotten to play like builds of the game and stuff?
Yes, we tossed some builds around for a while, and he finally just recently released the demo on Steam. Yeah, so there is a beta playtest. Like you can request access to play the beta, and then you're encouraged to leave feedback, as well as a wish list option. And I think last we checked, we had about 300 wish lists. He was pretty pleased with that, so he was like, yeah, like I think we can move on to chapter 2 now. I was really hoping he would, because he was like, yeah, depending on how many people request to play it and how many people wish list it is, will depend if I do chapter two or not.
So you mentioned the mechanic with the flashlight and like that's how you were doing damage, and you said there were a lot of puzzles. What are some of the other mechanics you've like noticed in the game?
There is this interesting mechanic. It's called a sanity meter. So, so along with your health, which you touch a bad guy, you take damage, or you interact with like some sort of environment piece that damages you. But there's also as as well as extraterrestrials, there are ghosts and spirits. And if you spend too much time around these spirits trying to get away from them, then it decreases what's called your sanity meter. And then if your sanity meter goes all the way down, then your health just depletes really, really fast. So you have to find medication to keep your sanity meter up. And that really adds an extra layer of weirdness to me. It's like, oh, now we have this sanity meter and you have to find this medication laying around.
Well, since I have you here, tell me about the music for the game. How are you approaching writing the music and the sound effects?
Yeah, so, well, the sound effects for one, I'm taking a bit of a different approach. I'm not really making a bunch of realistic sounding sound effects. He really wanted to keep the feeling of like you're playing a Game Boy game or something. Very unrealistic sound effects. So I've been playing a lot with like those really old synthesized sounds and mixing like some Foley elements in it as well. So the sound effects are a little different. He's using the Godot engine, and I haven't really found a way to integrate any middleware into this yet. So this is an interesting shift for me because I'm just sending him just wave files with notes. And I'm like, this is how I would like this to be implemented. This is how I would like this loop to work. It makes music a little challenging too, because, like in Fmod and stuff, like you can just loop a region and it just makes the seamless loops like pretty automatic. And here I'm having to learn how to like edit my audio out to make a seamless loop. The music it's definitely in my wheelhouse because I'm writing a bunch of like really atonal sounding modern types of compositions. Like they sound like they came straight up out of like the 19th century or like 20th century, and that was definitely what I really enjoyed studying when I was in school for composition. So it's a lot of Schoenberg type of stuff, but I also tried to make it like a lot prettier than that. Like I'm really leaning into my love of WC, so like it's a weird mix. And there's also this really weird track in the game when when it's like the main exploration track, and it kind of sounds like maybe it's like the constant rhythm, but it sounds like spy music almost, and that was like super unintentional, but it's just kind of how it came out. And I was like, oh, this works really well because you're investigating, you're looking for your lost chicken. The What's really interesting here is the sound effects and the music, like their quality is really different because the music, like I'm trying to do like orchestral instruments and I'm using like the East-West Composer Cloud, and I'm trying to use like really high quality instruments. So it sounds as this is probably the best music I've written so far. I'm very proud of it. And then to juxtapose that, you have the sound effects which sound like they came out of a Game Boy game. So I find that mix a little interesting.
Hey, and while we're talking about music, I actually asked Aaron to see if he would be interested in featuring the soundtrack here in the podcast, and he said yes, and it is amazing. So here's a little snippet of it. I hope you enjoy it. Let's say the game's out, it's been released, people have started playing it, and they're really enjoying it. How are they telling their friends about the game?
So I'm basing this off of the feedback that Tom has told me, but mostly a feeling of nostalgia. It reminds them of old games, and that's what he was after. It specifically reminds them of Pokemon games because he also is super influenced by Pokemon. Not that the genre is anything alike, but the art looks really similar. So and it's it was a Game Boy classic, so they're left with a feeling of nostalgia for Game Boy games, is what I'm going to say. And maybe if Tom was here, he would answer completely different. I don't know, but that's my interpretation so far.
I guess the last question really is, where can people, you mentioned the Steam, and I'll put links to whatever stuff we have available, but you mentioned there's a Steam, you can wish list it already.
Yep, so it's all on Steam. You can just, yeah, you can request access to the beta, and then you can add to your wish list.
Nice. And so where else can people go learn more about the game?
They can go to his Instagram. His Instagram is, I mean, I'll link you to this too, but his Instagram is called Moss Tower. And that's what his studio name goes by, is Moss Tower Games.
That's all I got. Thank you so much for making time.
Yeah, of course. You're welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss a single episode. Leave a review, share with your friends. See you next time.